All right, welcome on to the podcast. Head coach of our hometown team, my alma mater, the West Carrollton Pirates, Coach Dion Black. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Good. We appreciate you taking the time to come on to the podcast. So a little,
Thanks for having me.
of course, a little background on us since we haven't officially got to meet yet. My name's Cody Gray. I graduated from West Carrollton back in 2013, and I'll be announcing on the broadcast of this year's games. I've got my brother Connor here with me, and he'll be producing the broadcast.
Okay, how you doing, Connor?
Good. How are you, sir?
All right.
A little bit of background on yourself for those listening. Coach Black, as a player, you played at Urbana University, and you also have quite a bit of coaching experience. You actually just left Trotwood a couple years ago, most recently, and left after a state championship run as D coordinator.
Yes. I started out my coaching career at Thurgood Marshall as a defensive backs coach. I did 2 years there, and then Bozie Milliner, the head coach at Meadowdale, reached out to me about being a DC. You know, being a very young guy, I was a little nervous, but, a friend of mine always told me, you're never ready till you're put in that position. So I did 3 years at Meadowdale as a defensive coordinator, and then went to Miamisburg when Steve Chanel took the job. And when he took the job, he asked me to be the DC, and I did 5 years there. 4 out of the 5 years, we made the playoffs. And my last year there, we made it to the regional championship game, losing to LaSalle, who eventually went on to win the D2 state championship. And then that following year, I went to Trotwood and, made history at Trotwood, going 15-0 and won the state championship. And then after that year, my second year at Trotwood, we made the playoffs, lost first round to Wapakoneta. And, I always had the admiration and the dream of being a head coach. And, my wife pushed me forward and told me, and go ahead and take that leap of faith. So I applied for West Carrollton, ended up with the job, and, Jeff Graham gave me all the praise in the world and told me, if you ever need anything, just let me know. I'm always here for you, and, the rest is history.
I love it. So let me ask you this, Coach. What's it like? You mentioned you left Trotwood as the D coordinator there. What's it like transitioning from D coordinator to head coach? And then to follow up with that, what's it like going from a team that's regularly competing for that state title to a team that's losing more games than winning, unfortunately?
Well, the difference is I really didn't feel a difference, but I did because I had to deal with more parents than what I normally had to deal with.
Right.
But I always did, like head coach administrative stuff. And, I prepped for it for a long time. Every stop that I went to helped me for this transition for a head coaching job. Being at Thurgood, Coach Earl White was big on his coaches building a rapport with his players. So, I did that. Once I went to Meadowdale with Bozie Milliner, he taught me the administration side of it, all the paperwork and the things that you have to do. Steve Chanel at Miamisburg taught me how to build a program from the ground up. And going to Jeff Graham at Trotwood, Jeff taught me so much from, like, the NFL aspect of it, how to incorporate packages with defense and offense, and making sure that every T and every I is dotted and crossed. So it was very adventurous, but I think I had prepared myself for it. And it's a big difference because you got to deal with a lot of parents. You got to deal with the administration side. You have to do the fundraisers. I've never really had to do that being an assistant coach, but now as a head coach, you got to wear all of them hats, sit in booster meetings and
right.
talk to media all the time. And, at first, once I got to Miamisburg, I didn't understand why Steve Chanel would always put me in front of the media and speaking at clinics, because that wasn't one of my strong suits. And he knew that, so he forced me into doing it, and now it's just like second nature. And that was one of the biggest things, the transition and dealing with boosters and setting up fundraisers and things like that. The transition from traditional winning program to a program that's down, that's always been my dream. Because the same day I accepted the job at West Carrollton, I had an interview at Miamisburg. So my thing has always been, I don't want to go where it's been traditional winning.
Right.
I always wanted to build something from the ground up to put my mark on it, to say, hey, this guy really knows what he's doing. So that was my whole take on it, and to build a legacy and to bring the winning tradition back to West Carrollton, because back in the 80s and the 70s and a little bit in the early 90s, West Carrollton was winning.
For sure.
And, it was a drop-off, and try to bring that back to the community and try to get back to the playoffs and hopefully have a good run in the playoffs.
I love that.
Because they made it 2 years in 05 and 09. So we got the pieces, and we're trying to bring that excitement back.
Absolutely.
So, Coach, going into your second season as the Pirates head coach with 3 wins last year, what's the message to the team this year compared to last year?
Can you repeat that? I didn't hear you.
Going into your second season with the Pirates with only 3 wins last year, what's the message to the team this year compared to last season?
Oh, the last year message was compete. Compete, compete, compete. I had to instill confidence in the kids, because some kids didn't have the confidence from people telling them that they're not that good and, things like that. So the message this year is all in and the next man up. So, everybody has to be all in for the program to change. And then I stress to the kids, excuse me, no matter who's the starter, the most important role on the team is who's the backup. Because if a starter goes down, a coach has to feel confident with putting the next kid in. So that's been our message. And one of our mottos that I brung over to West Carrollton is take care of the little things, and the big things will take care of itself. If you take care of every little detail and do what you got to do in the classroom, at home with your parents, on the field, the big things will take care of itself. Winning games, making playoffs, and trying to have a big run in the playoffs and getting scholarships. So, that's one of our main mottos. Now the kids have confidence, and, I tell them you take on the traits of your coaches. So the coaches have a lot of confidence in the kids, and we have a lot of confidence in ourselves. So now the kids are starting to have fun and have confidence. And, I've been getting a lot of praise saying that they glad that the kids are having fun now, because previous years the kids wasn't having fun.
Absolutely. It's a culture change. I love it. Hey, Coach, you got 2 guys on your team that I'm really excited to watch. I watched them play basketball last season. Connor and I both worked the basketball games last winter. Tyron Darby, Kamari Cleveland, both got D1 offers already. What's it like having those 2 talents on your team at quarterback and running back?
It's great. When I took the job, I seen Kamari play in a JV game against Trotwood as a freshman, and I knew about him and I was excited. So with me having that wing team background, I let the kids come outside when we was doing weightlifting during the winter and watching them run around and do things. And, the offense was kind of built around Kamari because he's a dual threat quarterback. He can run, he can throw. So we kind of built it around him, and we had the receiver in Austin Jones. And we had a couple of pieces last year. Tyron, after the Brookville Jamboree, asked could he come out. And, it took him a while to come out, and I told him he could. So it took him a couple weeks because he was saying that I had to convince his mother. So I had to call Mom, because being a basketball kid, parents don't want their kids playing football because they think it's going to be the end of all if they get hurt. So I convinced his mom to let him play, and had to tell her that, you have something special and just don't handicap him with playing one sport. And going into the Butler game, we was getting him together and getting him up to speed. So going into Sydney, my running back coach, which was one of my coaches in high school, Jackson Taylor Sr., he was like, I think it's time to just let him go. And once we put him in, his first game, he had 4 touchdowns. So, having them two is very exciting. Like, we have other pieces that people don't know about because, them two get the notoriety because of the D1 offers. My wife is a football mom. My stepsons played at Wayne, and one is at EKU. The other one went to Urbana. So, she's a football mom and a football junkie. And she could start, after Tyron in the Sydney game, she started calling me Mr. West Carrollton.
Football family, I love it.
Yeah, so, it's very exciting to have them two and to watch them. Like, we got, 2 receivers in Jordan Berry and Cedric Anthony that don't nobody know about.
I watched Jordan play basketball. He's a great athlete.
Yeah, and we got a sophomore running back named DeJuan Howard, and him and Darby has been taking split reps, and watching them two back and forth is amazing. DeJuan will be another big-time offer kid coming out of West Carrollton as well. And then we have the kids on the defensive side of the ball, the Tony Buckners, the Leon Nevilles, the Cole McCandless, and the Anthony Baltimores, and them kids on the defensive side of the ball really don't get praise. And, I try to praise my defensive side of the ball all the time because, yes, been a defensive coordinator at heart. And, I know the struggle with everybody so focused on the offensive kids and stuff like that. But our defense should be very nice this year.
I can't wait to watch.
So, Coach, this season is going to be, excuse me, the season is going to be a little different with minimal fans at the games, 6-game regular season, and then straight into the playoffs. How does that change things as the head coach?
It changed a lot because, you have to constantly make sure with the social distancing that the kids stay 6 feet apart. And we all know how kids are. They love to be up close and laughing and talking and bumping each other and stuff like that. We was looking forward to our season with playing all 10 games and, with everyone making the playoffs, I'm excited. But at the same time, me and the kids and the staff said, it's cool, but we wanted to earn our right to the playoffs. We don't want nobody to say, oh, y'all made the playoffs because of this. Like, no, we have a good team.
Right.
And we want to earn that right, and we're going to show why we feel that way this year. Whether it's 6 games, 4 games, 5 games, 8 games, we're going to show it. So it's been a big struggle with all the stuff changing by weekly and trying to keep the kids motivated. The kids was looking forward to week 1 against Miamisburg. I was looking forward to week 1 against Miamisburg because coming from there, still some coaches on the staff that I coach with, and we always excited to play against each other. And it's a long-time rival. So we was happy to get that rival back, and, I was talking to the kids, and we was prepping for it. And, that's one of the things that happen. I tell our kids that things in life happen for a reason. And we don't know what this reason is, but it happened. So we can only control what we can control.
Absolutely. I had that written down. I wanted to talk about the Miamisburg rivalry. You touched on it there. It's a big bummer that we're not going to get that game this year.
Yeah, that would have been huge. So now, next year, we just travel there. So
yeah, for sure.
It still had the same effect. Whenever our season is over this year and we get back to the weight room, our focus will be right back on, Miamisburg, which we call the Blue School because it's a big rival.
I like that. So let's go ahead. Let's look ahead to week one. It's game week now. So let's look ahead to week one. We got Stebbins at home on Friday. We beat them last year, last game of the season, 21-14. How's the team looking going into week one, and what challenges does Stebbins present for the team?
Going into week one, we feel pretty confident. Just like any team and going into week one, the only thing is going into week one, you're going in blind because us being in the MVL, all the superintendents said no scrimmages. So none of the schools in the MVL have scrimmages. So we're basically going in blind, not seeing what they like to do and what their personnel look like. So I stress to my staff and the kids that this game is going to come down to whatever team and whatever coaching staff make the quickest adjustments and whoever gets ahead. So that's one of the biggest challenges going into week one, but we're pretty confident. And Stebbins they got some great kids like the quarterback, Nate Keller. He's very athletic. He reminds me of a Kamari. They got a big back in Marvelous Rutledge, and, they graduated some other skilled kids on offense. What they have coming back, I really don't know, but I'm pretty sure their energy is very high because of them losing to us last year, and with it being week one, and that's considered a rival game now. So that's going to be the very interesting part. Like, they're very solid on defense, and it's going to be a great game. Like I said, it's going to be what coaching staff make the adjustments first to get their kids on the board and get ahead.
Absolutely. I can't wait till Friday. It's game week, like I said, Coach. We appreciate you taking the time. I can't wait to meet you later this week.
Thank you.
Hey, best of luck, Coach.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.